Industry. So what we have here, this is nicely labeled in the corner, and on the stream you were watching live, or the video you were watching. This is Factorio. For ease of communication, I could call it a game of survival, and crafting, building, and so forth, but really sets it apart from a lot of what you'd expect from the rest of that genre. It's not a game of crafts, it is a game of design, planning. It's a game of industry. And it is also, as of this time, a game that is in technically very, very late early access, but it's been effectively a complete product for a good while now. They're just largely doing a bunch of under-the-hood stuff that needs to be cleaned up and optimized and really hammered into order before they'd be willing to call it the release version. Mostly netcode stuff. There is multiplayer. Multiplayer is quite good, and they're working on making it more reliable and more scalable, so that you may build together with friends, which you can now, and they'd like to allow for more friends. And wait, no, not campaign. Nobody used the campaign. Don't touch this button at all. This, maybe I get there's the one that's kind of a tutorial. You don't need that. Just dive right in. We're gonna generate ourselves just a random map on ordinary parameters, everything moderate and normal and medium size. If you feel like playing very calmly, you can turn on peace mode, where you will not provoke aggression. Don't do that. Live a little. And the maps that you will play on are generated procedurally as you go, such that unless you tell it to restrict you to a certain size, it'll just keep making more map the farther you explore. So let's explore. There are things about this message that are no longer quite accurate enough to... This, I think, has sat unchanged for quite a while, but anyway. That sort of gives the pitch of what the premise is as you go in here. So, we tucked away nicely within these trees. Well, this fine fellow, who is some manner of workman from the space. You were part of an expedition to land on ye planet which surrounds you at this time, and get it settled and built upon. But things went awry, your boat crashed, and now here you are with limited supplies and all on your own, and like, framing device-wise, you're also expecting the rest of the expedition to show up at some point, and you want to set up infrastructure to help them out. But mostly, you're building for your own sake. You're building to build. He has quite a zesty jog. All the visuals for the game use this nice, kind of pre-rendering and then just cramming down into small, lower-res sprites. It's an art style that was kind of prevalent in, like, the late 90s, early 2000s. It feels well executed here, as you'll see once we start to get more stuff around and in motion. But we're out here, in the field, in the world. We have a couple of gizmos sitting in our tool belt. We have a gun, just in case. You save the most important things when you're bailing out from a burning spaceship. You want, your drilling device, your furnace, 8 steel plates, well, iron plates. We need to carbonize those at some point. Well, not really. We're going to use them as they are. And a handgun, as is proper. So we're sitting here with just the wilderness, stretching potentially infinitely in all directions, waiting to be exploited. Put to work for the harvest. And there's a pretty concise handful of materials that we have to work with as basic stuff. Got trees. Trees are made of wood. Perfectly serviceable material used for all manner of applications. Over here, just lying around on the surface, you will find various bits of mineral. You got coal. You got iron. You can see on the minimap there over in orange, that's some copper laying around, and over in kind of the gray, beige, off-brown. Nested inside this dense woodland, there is some manner of stone. We'll have use for all of these, mostly the iron and coal, less so the other ones, but they all have a place. And we'll be at work finding them that place. For the most part, probably around this side of things is a decent place to get started. Looks like that stone over there is a bit more accessible. Woods are less dense. Yeah, there it is. And that's more than the volume we'll need for quite a while. So, let's get cracking. Well, no, cracking itself won't occur for some time. That's way beyond current levels. Just get started. Let's fell a tree. There's also that lake over there. That's some nice terrain that'll be of use to us. The lake there and other small ponds. If you take your attention off of a tree for a moment, it'll just all grow back. Tree goes down all at once, or not at all. So often runs of this, I will, at times, as like a gimmick for the early game, go ahead and try to conduct all my opening moves with the minimum amount of handwork possible. All resources can be gathered by hand, all buildable things can be crafted by hand, but hands are not that great. Hands are less than optimal tools of industry. The very slow work times for trying to dig up diggable things by hand. Pretty effective way of signaling to the player right away that that's not what we're here for. That's terrible. I mean, theoretically, I could go ahead and build myself a hand tool, and that'll make hand work much faster. But no. No, not at all. We have come here from space. We're developed, civilized people. We have ways and means. We are possessed of highly advanced robo-workmanship. We have technologies. For example, this drill. Where what this will do is hands off the process of extracting material for us. Flop it down, it will have access to all of the resources that are sitting underneath its footprint. And as this lovely icon is very loudly and angrily flashing at us, it wants to be fed. This burner mining drill will accept any fuel-type object, of which there are several. Our wood here is worth 4 megajoules of fuel energy at a time. On feeding fuel into it, it will then use that fuel to do work, burn at the old 300 kilowatts, in order to do this. Now we have coal. Coal, which immediately contains twice the energy of wood per unit. A much preferable fuel. That one log got us like 3.5 coal. 1 coal will get 7 more coal. And what's holding that up there is naturally when there's already stuff clogging the output. I'm gonna shut down and wait for something to clear the jam. As if we were going to stand about unloading this machine by hand like animals. Now we have Box. Box will collect things for us. From Box, fuel. From fuel, power. Alright, so that will be able to run for a little while. We'll go about, and you can see here, these 3 tiles that I have it on top of add up to 1,600 points of coal just sitting there waiting to be put to use. It's a fair start. Gonna let that run, grab a couple more logs. Since while you can eventually automate the process of pretty much any action the character can do can be passed off to some sort of machine at some point over the course of the game, strangely enough, automatic tree felling is pretty deep in there. For quite a while, the only way you're going to get lumber is if you jog out into the woods on your own and rip a tree from the earth with your bare hands. So for now, let's go ahead and just clear space immediately around these rocks. Yes, version of the game being played is vanilla of, at this time, most recent experimental build, but otherwise vanilla. As often the case for the genre, there's a wide variety of mods out there in the community to add all sorts of complexity and interconnection and entangling and other shenanigans. Oop. Accidentally touched rocks. Shameful. Alright, that's a fair start, and it's possible that our good friend the drill has managed to burn down a fair portion of the fuel supply we fed it. Let's go check on that. Still churning away. Doing good work. I'm going to let it run through that, just to give us an initial handful of fuel, and then I'm going to take this drill and reposition it to somewhere else. That's just to go over some things we're able to put together just initially out of the gate. We can make boxes of wood or metal, we can prepare conveyor belts, we can prepare robot arms, we can prepare pipes for moving liquid around. If we had prepared any brick, well, actually no, that's... yeah, that has to be done in a machine. We just know the formula here to produce brick. Set up little electrical poles for when we have power. Basic hand tools, basic repair kits for healing damaged buildings. And more relevantly for right now, let's see, boilers, steam engines, those for generating electricity. We'll get around to that in a bit. But yeah, we could create more mining drills, fancier drills, water pumps, furnaces. So our first step of the overall development curve is we want to get more drills. We want to get raw material coming in and getting processed without having to touch things with our hands. We build robot hands for that. But as is very just elegantly put down here, we start with just one smidge too little material to build a second drill. Take a total of 9 iron plates to go from just raw material to a working drill. Those plates, and also this furnace we're carrying around. which is a problem because the furnace itself also has use as its own thing. There we go. You've run down your fuel. Let me just scoop you up. I want to get some mileage out of you. Because, yes, for what needs to be done next to get started, I would like some stones. Oh, I'm just gonna grab you. Pop you down there. Set up another storage cube. And toss in a pile of fuel. Stone is just slightly easier to work than iron or copper. I think coal is itself even easier to work. There's slight differences, and you can see the hardness and mining time there. That gets compared against stats on digging tool and maths out to how quickly they're able to put stuff out. In general, there's some vague ratios that are very convenient to hold in your head that hold for when you're designing machinery and setting things up. And just a general trend of the more advanced and expensive machinery works out to being better once you account for all the factors. So for the most part, you don't have to worry about the particular numbers. You can just kind of build to build. Alright, that's enough rocks to get started. I can make more of these. Yeah, just let you burn out that last fuel. I'll leave the box there. I can make more boxes. There's plenty of tree to go around. Now, let's get you to your destination. Now, we have our drill here. We get it fed, we'll begin generating the ore. And as I've placed this building directly on top of the output of the drill, that ore is automatically being fed into the furnace. Now sits quietly, waiting to be fed itself. From ore, plate. From plate, technology. From technology, industry. So it begins. So with that, we now have material inputs by which to generate drills. And I'll re-establish a dedicated fuel drill. That will run for some time. The problem emerges. This drill cannot feed itself. Although the precious, life-giving coal beneath it is exactly what it needs to thrive, it's not capable of digesting directly from its input line. We can fix this with technology. These are burner arms. If given fuel, they will grab objects that are in front of them and place them behind them. If said object is fuel and they are low on fuel, they will feed themselves. Behold, symbiosis. While the drill can store up to 50 in its input buffer. Arms don't like to overstuff buildings, they'll stop at some fraction. So, while these arms sit comfortably, waiting for the chance to feed the drill, and the box accumulates the excess. Technology. Right, I didn't feed you. Now with those established, let's just go ahead and do this. And from that, generate our third resource. Throughout the early game, we're not going to need nearly as much copper as other things. Not until our humble roots sprung up and produced a mighty oak. Not to be confused with any of these, which... Are any of these oak? They're all just sort of tree. Technology. Behold, the rhythm of industry. And while it is possible to scale up your operations while in the burner phase, this is sadly a very brief and fleeting step in the industrial life cycle. Really, I've already built far more burner devices than I should ever be incorporating long term. Plenty about this that can be very comfortably skipped. Oh, well, this is terribly convenient. More coal. Right on the lakeshore. Yes. Do nicely. That'll serve quite well. Alright, so to move forward to the next phase, it is time for power. Well, more broadly, it will be time to science, but to science we must have power. So let us begin. Generating electricity, we will turn to man's best friend, the steam turbine. There you go. The turbine takes in water, and if said water is noticeably warm, converts it to usable energy. Which, to furthermore expound upon the device, pumps, when placed in water, will pull water out of its natural habitat and into helpful tubes. Tubes move fluids, like water, from one place to another. And in order to make water warm, in order to operate the turbine, we employ boilers, which take in fuel. And in exchange, make their contents warm. The boiler is ready to function. Electrical poles, such as these, allow for the transmission of electrical energy. Everything inside of that glowing area around the pole is within its influence. Each pole then has a distance that it may extend while remaining in contact with its fellow pole. And so it begins. The electrical drill here is a good and honest friend. See right away, it has a much larger footprint that it can influence than the regular drill. It also works quite noticeably faster. And once you account for all factors involved, is far more energy efficient than the burner drill. The moment it is possible, one should really abandon burn drills entirely in favor of electrical equipment. One of our further basic tools is our good friend conveyor belt. Placed on the ground, conveyor belts will move things in a direction. When placed in sequence, that direction will extend some distance. You yourself are a thing to be moved. Need more material. Now, while I could set up electrical arms for this task, operating the furnace, I find that for this particular role, burner arms remain quite effective. They are, in the grand scheme of things, larger consumers of energy than the electrical arm. They work much slower, but they have the advantage of, if the power goes out for some other unrelated reason, they can keep working. The burn arm is able to run itself off of the very fuel you feed into it and through it. So as long as there exists fuel, they can restart a set of furnaces from just nothing. Very handy like that. Such good arms. And we can now see here if... So, our UI size is making that not want to stack up. Alright, let's go to statistics. Full uses up. Right, if I go in here. Power. Those 90 kilowatts, which represent a pretty small fraction of the productive capacity of our one turbine there, which can run up to 510. We have fuel. An abundance of fuel. Fuel for days. And so it begins. Well, this fuel line is quite mighty and important. The furnace itself only needs a very small fraction of its potential. We're just going to engage in a little bit of a split. Whenever the furnace needs it, this helpful arm will pull another unit of coal off of the line, and that arm will easily be able to keep pace with several boilers worth of heat and steam and grinding metal. You can see here, only one of these actually needs to be on right now in order to keep the reactor warm enough. Turbine, rather. Really, a furnace is more of a reactor. But yes, as we end up needing more power, it will end up drawing on more, and you use that as a quick visual indicator of how stressed a block of steam turbine is. Anyway, we're going to take this coal and bring it on an adventure. Because it's time to enhance. And for now, there's a ratio of turbines to boilers that is... turbines, pumps, and boilers that is ideal. And it is not one-to-one. One pump will throw out enough water to satisfy about 10 steam turbines, which will themselves need a much larger, I think around 17 or 18 boilers to provide the needed heat for all of them. Freeze are nature's power lines. To be a bit more real here, let's see. Oh yeah, over here is probably a good site to open up work on what must be done now. Get a couple more power line. Bunch more furnace. Some number of built. Because what will happen next is, while these, conveniently enough, actually math out such that one burner drill works as fast as one stone furnace does at putting out and processing material, the electric drill is noticeably faster. So if we took an electrical drill and fed it directly into a stone furnace, you would be wasting a lot of time. The drill would be spending about half its time sitting idle, because there's just not... this isn't hungry enough. So we will require a greater act of technology. Go ahead and situate this electrical drill up here. Defeat a belt. The March of Progress. Basic conveyor belt is composed entirely of iron. By way of gears. Iron with teeth. Nearly there. Basic conveyor belts require no external source of energy, they just work. No. We have ore. We have fuel. And we have the humble stone furnace. We have many of the humble stone furnace. we need slightly more plate. Now, look well and take notice, as we are about to perform our first trick. See here, how on belts like this one, we have one row of items. On this one, we have one row of items. And on each, we have a conspicuous void of no items. All belts have two layers. Various machines will, when loading a belt, feed to the near or far side. When belts join, as here, inbound items will be devoted to the appropriate side of the belt. Devices, such as these arms, will check for all valid materials which could be fed into a recipient machine from the input tile in front of them. By these methods, one belt may feed many furnaces. We have technology. Behold! Productivity. Behold as well that the copper furnaces have gone quiet, and I should fix that. Behold! Technology. And a limitation we encounter there. While a furnace is capable of buffering a decent amount of produced material, it has a limit. Only so much stuff can be piled up in there. Really, they should be unloaded. For this, as well, we have technology. For which I'm going to leave this conspicuous tile of extra space before having them feed onto a horizontal belt. Write that down. Praise be. No, I didn't put an unloading arm for that one yet. You can note that now that we have all these devices on, they're not all being engaged. That is because with just the one electrical drill of input, about 2 furnaces is all it takes to keep up. Well, the rest are being left idle. We can fix this. We have technology. Drills are allowed to overlap their influence zones. They'll just work on the relevant tiles even harder. If you're looking for raw output speed and rapid turnaround, you actually want your drills crammed just nice and cozy right up against each other. If you care more about longevity and footprint and energy economy and so forth, maybe you spread them out. If you're not feeling particularly urgent about your drill placement. Behold, energy. From which we're actually starting to gradually drag our way closer to the limits of our first turbine. Behold, the pulse of the robot arm. Note as well that the current arrangement of belts causes only a single lane of this output line to be used for ore. In truth, a shameful thing. We can correct this. That's a start, but now it's just 3 and 1. It's a start. Besides, they're getting recompressed to one belt over there. Will be some time before the plant matures enough to demand the full throughput of a simple belt. Though in truth, once again, for humble fuel handling, even a single burn arm is going to be fast enough to meet the needs of that whole area. In many factory designs, a coal belt is a powerful utility. You know, your standard hookups that you want in any home or office situation. You know, your power, your water, your coal. The beauty of the modern era, where coal is available on tap. Go drop off this ore in one of those furnaces. Let it sizzle. You there. See as well that our one box loading arm is not powerful enough to keep up with this many active furnaces. Get him some friends. Logistics. Now then, let's take the strain off of our poor, addled young steam turbine. Time to scale up. The pipe into ground here allows you to create a stretch of underground pipe. Fluid striking one end will be teleported to the opposite end of the tube, leaving an appropriate gap between them where other things can pass. Our be praised. Energy for opportunity. Furthermore, there is a pipe outlet on both ends of a steam turbine, such that for more prolific expansion, I would actually take these and slide them back and then tack additional turbines onto the back of the complex. One may now recognize the reason I have chosen this stretch of land. It has good feng shui for steam turbine. Single stretch of underground pipe can be about 10 tiles long, then you would need to build a further pipe. Once you have utility conveyor belts, they can be used to augment your speed. So with that power production in place, let's electrify more of our facility. The burner age is at an end. Farewell, humble burners. You served well. You may yet find niche use in other positions. I mean, it's a perfectly serviceable piece of technology. Every so often you'll find ore that's just crammed into an awkward place and too small to fit a full electric drill. Down you go, tree. Make way for industry. Now, stone is of use in both its raw and baked form. You're gonna want to separate these outputs for now. Start accumulating a little bit of brick on the side. Just a smidge. Didn't mean to deploy you here, Burnarm. Not that you don't have a use. A stopgap for the other thing. Go ahead and create a little fuel hopper here. Many a coal. You know what? Sure, many a stone as well. In you go. These will be roasted 2 at a time into brick. Which, conveniently enough, means that 1 electric drill will feed 1 stone furnace, making stones. Slowly skim the trees out of the way. With these bricks, right out of the gate, something we're now capable of doing. Paving. On paved ground, you move faster. We'll see much use on frequently trodden land. But first we must accumulate brick. Now let's go ahead and electrify the copper. We'll merge them over here. Good to see fuel keeping up with demand. And storage keeping up with production. A well-balanced system. Probably should have left the conspicuous extra tile gap as well, but really this will probably be retired by the time I would need to cash in on the other side of that mystery. And there we have it. Electrified material supply. Never again to harvest ore by hand, like some sort of common beast. Yeah, if we just look over the numbers here, half of that turning into usable electricity. Gonna go ahead and prepare to do the moves necessary to expand this system. Adding capacity with minimal disruption. Power output. But hold on, that's just a smidge too far. Alright, let those get loaded up, and then we'll see if the coal drill is able to keep up. The drill in the arm. If it's needed, an additional drill is entirely within our power to add. Yeah, it looks like it's successfully buffering a little. Go ahead and turn up the intensity. Majestic. Technology. How far we've gone. How much we've flourished. The valley here in iron production briefly. Not sure if there was a power interruption, or when the output on these got bottlenecked. Or maybe that was the moment that the furnaces caught up with the one drill and its backlog. Oh, now we have material. Time to learn. Behold, the dome. Lab, in which science, which is itself an active industry. This is just immediately, automatically brought up the research window. We are here. We'd like to be here. Between us, industry. So it's been real nice and relaxing to get material harvesting off of our hands and into our robot hands. You know what's awful though? Making parts for things. That's just gross. Just shameful. Put a stop to that. Let's learn. So science occurs by way of you have technologies and technologies. Just throw the science window open again. Yep, there we go. So a technology is an industrial process. It will require a number of cycles. Or, well, it'll have a work cycle it must perform in the lab. A number of them, and an amount of material which must be fed in to do it. Initially, we know of red science and green science. Red is comparatively simple. Copper and gears. You take a wheel, you give it teeth, kind of glitz it up a little. There you go, science. Pour in beaker. Shake vigorously. Serve chilled. The science begins. We have a stray length of wire sitting in our pockets. We'll find it a good home. So it is done. We unlock 2 new recipes. Arm, but longer. Just add more metal, add more bits. And a new device. We also need to go ahead and choose another job to get on. On the old queue. Yeah, sure. A gun. But, like, proper. Bigger gun. Cannot afford production gaps. So we've learned of a new machine. There it is. This is Assembling Machine Mark 1. Within it, you can perform any crafting activity which requires at most 2 ingredients, automatically. Away he goes. And so, it begins. Leave a box of copper laying here for now. And let's see if I remember right. There we go. The overlay by which we can have further information stapled onto buildings. Containers will say what they have inside them. Assemblers will say what they're set to produce. Labs will continue to sizzle. Technology. How's the brick supply doing? Thriving. Pavement can also extend under conveyor belts. And there we go. Hands-free gun learning. The first of many, gun. Up next, logistics. More importantly, up now, a bit of fine, handcrafted, artisanal gun. The SMG in every way replaces the pistol. It's the same ammunition type, but better, faster. Hand-rolled, homemade ammunition. And let's see, some other gizmo that felt necessary to produce. Gonna go ahead and set up a conveyor belt factory. The simple all-iron recipe. those are understandably trapped behind our unending hunger for bullets. And we do indeed hunger for bullets. As in time, we will have reason for violence. As you can see here on the new map now, there's a nice healthy, vague haze that's extending outward. It's the old industrial carbon footprint. All of our active machinery generates amounts of smog. That smog spreads out into the environment and is... over time and distance, it gets absorbed by like land and water and trees and so forth. But if it wanders far enough from home, it'll make friends. Which will force us to make friends. For this, the gun. Could wander off and go exploring a little, but exploration is itself an automatable task. I'm going to interrupt bullet production so I can get these, important, usable tools out of the way. The radar consumes a not unremarkable amount of electricity in exchange for reading more map. Every time it finishes a work cycle, which is being tracked by a bar that you can't see because the rest of the UI is in the way, we will get another map block revealed to us. We have learned of logistics, by which to get belt tunnel, belt splitter, and arm but faster. Valuable allies. Next, let's go ahead and learn about walls. Let's go ahead and cram a bunch of this back into storage. Our rainy day inventory. There are no actual weather mechanics in this. Rain does not occur. And we can see our radar starting to get to work. Friendly new squares. Alright, let's see here. Yeah, that's a goal. Let's aim ourselves that way. As, yeah, we figured out walls from which we can now build walls. What if you took bricks and, like, stacked them up vertical wise? It's the other main use of brick. The big one. Just walls. Up electronics. For ARM, but clever. Our ever-growing rainbow of different kinds of ARM. Fast ARM is like regular ARM, but faster. Combined efforts of about 6 speed arms can keep up with the throughput of a fully packed regular belt. There he go. Yeah, just go ahead and shuffle this a little bit. There we go. I was just looking for expanded storage capacity, didn't want to actually starve my singular lab. Ah, the belt making machine wasn't finished yet. Ooh, need an output. There you go, friend. How would you like a fast arm? All the upgraded arms appropriately include a regular arm in their recipe. Let me just stow my gun somewhere. There you go. Just in case. Industry. Just gonna go ahead and make a slight adjustment to the setup here. What burner arm? Still keeping up with all this demand. What a good arm. Let's give him more demand. Go get some rocks. Acknowledge. Ah, our radar spotted the other material that doesn't start getting put to use until the mid-game. Take note of that healthy cluster of purple dots. Well, more pink dots. Yeah, pink dots. It's a good find. Our one lab looks so lonely. The gear machine that feeds it sometimes sits idle. Sad. Oh. Science occurred. Electronics for smart arm. And more importantly, a number. Going up. Yeah, that box is easily all the copper we need. There will be much rebuilding. And I'm just gonna go ahead and start implementing a little bit in the way of security measures. Hello? Yes. There you are. Something to be secure about. We'll soldier out there to retrieve those pink dots at some point. For now, though, we gotta play it cool. Someone want to extend another barrier out here, Wizen. Ah, hello. Closer friends. Likely to become much closer friends. Visible now when zoomed out. Oh, sitting over here, this is one of the other core elements of the mechanics, and yes, our haze is starting to brush up against their territory. We are not alone on this world. There are many friendly animals. And it turns out they love the taste of carbon. In 1 or 2 oxides. Can't get enough of it. As your factory starts to extend its haze outward into the environment, it will inevitably brush up against bugs. Bugs that catch the scent of your delicious industrial fumes will start wandering towards your base. When they come into contact with all of your strange, noisy, moving objects, they will react as animals do and try to rip them apart with their many sharp edges. This is bad for production and needs to be prevented. With a gun. Furthermore, as well, as your smog reaches farther and gets more intense, the hives themselves will start to absorb all those delicious industrial nutrients, and they themselves will grow and multiply. Bug colonies will get larger and more intense. They'll start to generate more and bigger sorts of bug, and they will, if left idle long enough, start to send out little expeditionary groups who will found new bug nests at different locations. For now, our haze is not quite touching those bugs, but it will very soon, with just a little bit more productivity, be able to last long enough to start provoking them. We must prepare. Oh, and there's a few more off in that direction as well. Well, the map is infinitely large, so eventually there are hostiles in all directions. Conflict is inevitable. Conflict is existence. Eyeballing that stone over that away. Nice, I have furnaces in pocket already. Good. I figure I may as well set up a nice bit of a cement mill. Where not actual cement is also a product elsewhere in the tree. Speaking of trees, quite a few of them here. And pesky trees. Wait, no, not you guys. I have need of energy. Well, I have an energy. I have need of energy distribution. Relocate the energy. See the woods getting quite dense as we get close to these very important strategic rocks. Appreciate how long it takes to remove a tree by hand. Experience how much faster it is to remove a tree by axe. And tools themselves will inevitably wear down from use and require replacement if you intend to do hand work for any span of time. A nice quiet day away from the mill. Almost touched rocks. Disgusting. Fortunately, there's more than one way to fell a redwood. Okay, good. The post is unharmed. Fine start. This little gizmo here allows you to communicate to your arms how far you would like a box to be filled. Where in this case I have told them to stop packing anything into this one, so that our conveyor belt machine will just start drawing off of our storage, leaving more of these plates free to just carry on through. Get back here, belts. Now, actually, with how many brick it costs to make an individual strip of wall, I think all of these could just as well feed into a single machine. Security made easy. The sound of progress. Majestic. Nice additional lake over there for longer term expansion. Over time, we'll need more footprint to perform larger, stronger tasks. I believe I mentioned earlier that trees are one of the things that helps absorb your smog as it travels across the map. So as you need to clear areas out in order to perform business, are also increasing the reach of your smog. From it, the aggro range of the overall plant. Yeah, here's the spot. There we go. A fine start. Scratched our existing wall section a bit. Go ahead and tune that up. How's our overall output of wall? Just shy of 8 per minute. We could do better. There are many things we can do better. We have technology. Now, though, I've been vaguely maintaining a bit of an alternating back and forth between productive things and violence things, which violence is production by another form, really. Let's learn counter-violence. Insulation of the self. This is Assembly Machine Mark II. It is made in part of Assembly Machine Mark I. There he is. Oh, actually, let me give myself more space here for what's about to happen. Assembly Machine Mark II can produce any recipe which employs up to 4 ingredients. This is pretty well every recipe that exists, including itself. Armor was done reasonably quickly. Optics. Tell me about light. So it begins. Assembly Machine Mark II is made of iron, electrical circuits, gears, and Assembly Machine Mark I. Assembly Machine Mark I is itself made of iron plate, gears, and circuits. Gears are made of iron, circuits made of iron, and copper cable, which is made of copper. Let it begin. But really what we have here are 3 feeds, which was first enter this machine, and then also enter this machine. As one of our ingredients exists only to be upgraded. And as each belt can handle only 2 types of material at a time, we're going to need 2 belts that are pulling in the necessary bits and stuff. As one half of that involves pure iron, and the other half involves things that are not iron. This belt will contain plates and gears. This belt will contain circuits. Thank you, optics research. Tell me about gun, but with itself. I'm gonna go ahead and shove a box in here. Beat up these arms. No time like uptime. Let's see, Yeah, I'll go in on some of the filler red research while we're getting these bits of logistics sorted out. What if gun hit harder? So, a circuit board. It's made of iron and wire. Wire is itself made of copper. Long arm is slightly faster than regular arm, and grabs and places from the next tile over. It's a good arm. Belt splitter takes whatever input is coming in and alternates placing it on the two output lines. We shall now test the device. $44-9. Quick bug fix. There. No sense letting input material get caught up inside there. And so it begins. The Mark II assembling machine also works noticeably faster than the Mark I, in exchange for higher power consumption. Making it, by all general measures, just an overall upgrade. It also has these two mysterious squares. Let's see, how are we doing on... Yep, starting to strain our quad turbine setup. Time for more power. Right, there is no assembler up here. That's just brick for brick's sake. Paving brick. As the test is concluded, let us arrange for more permanent material hookup. Belt tunnel, much like pipe tunnel, allows you to skip areas of land while still transporting materials appropriately. Ah! A bug needs addressing. Sweep up this clog. There we go. Just employ a little geometric trickery in order to enforce handedness on the belt. Very good. Perfect. Just what was needed. At just the right time. Actually, since turbines automatically throttle themselves up and down as needed reasonably efficiently, I may as well take this up to full capacity. Just establish 1 pump's worth of steam. Establish also the space necessary to begin the 2nd pump's worth of steam as needed. Gonna have to go grab a fistful of rocks. There we go. System firmly online. Running 3 out of 7. Now, how shall we complete the wall? Thusly. Security starts with cement. Prior efforts regarding wall conveniently arrives at all this wall waiting to happen. Wall in potentia. Concrete in its larval form. The soothing, productive rhythm of the gun. Didn't bring any iron. Ah, we finally created sufficient demand for copper. Time to scale that up. Productivity. Fortunately, conveyor belts know how to keep their head down. It's almost a path through here. Success. Wilderness cleared through selective plugin. By way of gun. Suppose I could also figure out steel. Our firmly mid-game material. But we gain access to the basic principles of it reasonably quickly. Iron, but more so. Very good. Ah, I hadn't even dropped off the wall, I'd finished. How's this machine going? Prolific. This would be using far more copper than it already is. Just have to go about rigging up a solution. There, now we're talking. Yeah, these are 1 plate 3 cable. Slamming them home proper like. Point where this thing's actually running all the time. Actually, if I do this... Excellent. And in recognition of the success of this machine, we go ahead and generate a couple of purple arms. Something one can take notice of is that this same recipe, almost, at least all the side bits, if not the assembly bits, the plate, gear, and board, those feed into several bits of advanced machinery. So filter arm here, it's a clever arm. It actually looks at what it's reaching for and will only grab the things you tell it to. Alright, I could also go ahead and quickly hand grind myself some body armor. And I think equally importantly, some automated bullet production running. Regular bullet composed only of iron. Want those in a box ready to go. Eventually on a belt, but for now, cube will do. Yes, having produced a reasonable number of assembler for some time. Go ahead and switch this. And now it makes arms. Of which I'll want many, many more. So let's just generate lots of arms. For most jobs, the speed arm is the preferred form. You want clever arm when you're starting to do fancy things where you're like filtering depots or otherwise shuffling around supply chains. Or other yet undiscovered arms for their particular niches. But for most dumb lifting, quick arm, it knows what's up. Let's see. Oh, I'd run you out of copper. Here's more copper. Rebuilding the science mill seems like a sensible next thing to do. Oh, there, we figured out steel. Any options left open before us? For filler, let's go ahead and just grab some more damage ups. Improved efficiency for gun. As stated previously, science is itself an industry. It can and should be treated as such. Research is a problem of production and logistics. One can think of a science lab as a sort of knowledge furnace, in which the coal of experimental data is converted into the mechanical energy of ideas. Arms for days. Let's go ahead and reassign what's on the bar here. Get some more. I'll take these burner drills and just stow them with the gun here in the legacy equipment box. Grab some spare belts. We'll go about scaling us up to a 6th lab complex once we incorporate this one over here. Each lab is also labeled with a name of a backer who is willing to help fund this over the course of its development. Left with these stray assembler ones. I suppose I could just retool them by hand. If I were a primitive. Eventually we'll set up a full-time assembler. That will be their home. Alright, so, as telegraphed here, in the long form, there are 4 flavors of data which can be fed into a science lab. So to facilitate all of those inputs, we'll want room for 2 belts. And for some time, we're only going to need the 1. So the second belt can just be seen as a placeholder. In fact, we can even have it flow the opposite direction. Employ space over there for assembling the relevant beakers. This, we will compose a line which will fuse red and eventually green onto a single feed. This will demand supplies of copper and iron. Move this bullet factory. Steady as you go. So go ahead and throw together more drills. Oh yes, that was the other... I was thinking of 3 things that involve this formula that could all be made here as needed. Electric drill is one of them. Where, now that we have a healthy supply of arms built up as well, with the upside that this isn't an upgrade of an existing product. This will be able to just go off of there and leave this tile idle. Now, let's be careful here, because if you set up an electric drill, or any drill, such that it straddles multiple types of material, then it'll put out a mixture of its possible inputs, and not in like a predictable, convenient way. So it's something to be avoided. Unless you then install the appropriate filtration equipment to just sort that stuff out afterwards. Which is, of course, entirely within one's power. Just needs to be accounted for. The long-term health of a factory often involves sorting out some manner of core material transport system that you can then reliably feed into and draw out of. That, or the construction of an increasingly confounding and labyrinth series of interlocking belts and lines. As suits one's fancy. Let's see, let's look at the relevant formulae here. Science pack needs a gear and a copper and 5 seconds of work. The gear requires 2 iron and half a second of work. So, one gear factory is capable of feeding multiple red science factory. An arm will prefer to take from the near lane of a belt, and will always place on the far lane of a belt. Thanks for the heads up achievement. We've caught attention. A friend approaches. A friend is resolved. Although from that friend, we now have a situation. They've caught our scent. Fortunately, violence shall also be automated. Quick hand feed to get them started. How we organize their supply line. Science. Violence is also a production problem. Security made easy. Eventually we'll go dispose of the nest itself. But for now, oh, and that iron patch is conveniently located to be put to use for security features. Handy. For now, the expense of just repelling raids is quite manageable. Takes a fair investment of attention and material to actually go out and proactively hunt the nest. Particularly once placed under pressure, they start producing more quickly. The survival of the fittest is itself a production problem. With a suit of armor and marginally upgraded regular weapons, I might be able to dispose of one nest by hand. Let's cake the nest. On closer inspection, we might not be able to tackle the nest. We'll have to be back with further supplies. If you get to it very, very early, you can kill, like, very basic one-pod regular nests. I've wandered close enough that it's persistently agitating them. I give them a bit more personal space. Something like that. The wall leaves plenty of time for them to tire themselves out, though. I know. Your immediate contrast with the starting equipment, your bullet gun, either the handgun or the submachine gun. They are both hit-scan weapons, and they auto-aim at a single target. We good? Nest? I think we're good. We've established pecking order. Quickly pave a route out to that frontier. As a trade-off for your increased movement speed, paved land is worse at absorbing pollution. So a well-paved factory, while more productive, also draws more aggression. Perhaps improved armor is the missing link for just being able to stand in front of a nest with regular weapons and take it down. Of course, that will require dabbling in the arts of steel. For this session, I think I'm going to stay comfortably within the early game red science zone and go about implementing green flavored research. The start of our next round, this whole area here will be put to work. Wall output continuing healthily. And let's see, yeah, stack. Not 50. Wait, what is this arm even doing here? Not supposed to be there. Here, clean this clog. Gremlins. Anyway, let's jog on back to the border and lay more fence. Our smog footprint is getting out far enough that we're going to start provoking that nest for regular harassment as well. Could probably set up some turrets out around this corner. No, for now there's a hookup on that side. should be able to get up about this coal without agitating those folks over there. Oh, I'll just try to get that enclosed. Yeah, that will be easily done. And that'll be our initial operating perimeter. Developing a healthy body of resources and being within striking distance of many opportunities. And while I'm down here, I can always go ahead and set up a little piece of equipment that usually has a place in all of my plants. Because there's only a few things require wood. Here they are. And one of those things is the power pole that you use for the bulk of the early game. We may as well fire it up. There we go. Wear out that hand axe. To do this, inside this wooden crate are 50 identical wooden crates of equal size. As is proper. Industrial solutions to industrial problems. And only using half of our 10 turbine setup. Don't mind me, folks. That's the concrete man. Routine industrial business. Nearly there. Fine clearing. We got left in the pure red zone. Looks like it's just armor 2. Very well. Alright, just a plant. Back to accumulating more stock. There's just no sense in letting the furnaces lay idle. Likewise, I should start buffering red. I got a set of 50 drills, so let's just go back to arm machine. that's the last pure red thing we can be working on. So for when we move on to further things. Let's see. Yeah, there's something for the queue. Probably have enough wall stocked up to finish things. Oh yes, absolutely. Jog on out and get that installed. Leave good infrastructure wherever we go. Like the Romans. Roads, bridges, walls. Organized violence. Security and prosperity. A larger carbon footprint for a stronger tomorrow. So here we are. Running about 3/4 of our 10 turbine rig. Yeah, there are more craft there, but let's see, just all auto? No. Yeah, I'd say close enough here. There's how far we've gone. Well, that's in power consumption. Let's get the... Yeah, there we go. There's the good stuff. Productivity. The pulse of industry. This time we settled in, sourced materials, and established key core infrastructure. Next time we will implement green goo and move on to yet greater heights of industry. Stay productive.